Now let us study how the process of digestion takes place inside our digestive system. That is, how the complex food is converted to simple food step by step. Now, firstly, we know that the food is taken in through the mouth. So here you can see the food being eaten and taken in through the mouth. Now, inside the mouth, the food is processed to generate particles with small size. When I say processed, that means the food is chewed with the help of the teeth. And the tongue also helps in this process. Now, after the food is chewed, during that process, the crushed food is wetted with the saliva that is secreted by the salivary glands. We saw that inside our mouth, there are salivary glands which secrete saliva. Why is the food wetted? So that it can pass through easily through the soft lining of the alimentary canal. Now, after the food is crushed and wetted, there is one very important step of digestion that takes place in the mouth. Now, let us see what is that step. Now, the saliva that is secreted by the salivary glands, it contains an enzyme called as salivary amylase. So, this is the enzyme salivary amylase which is present in the saliva. Now, this enzyme salivary amylase, it acts on the starch component of food. Our food contains starch. So, the enzyme salivary amylase acts on the starch and it breaks down that starch into a simple sugar. It breaks down that starch into a simple sugar. So, let us see what is the reaction. Starch, which was a complex sugar, it is broken down by the enzyme salivary amylase into a simple sugar. Now, so we can say that the food is partly digested in the mouth. Normally we feel that the digestion takes place in the stomach. Yes, of course, but only partially. But actually, the digestion of food starts or begins in the mouth. Now, going further, the partly digested food will now go down through the esophagus, that is the food pipe. So here you can see the food going down through the esophagus. Now, how does this happen? How does the food go down through the esophagus? We know that esophagus is a muscular passage. So what happens is, due to the rhythmic contraction and relaxation of the muscles of the esophagus, the food is pushed down, as you can see. And this movement of the muscles of the esophagus to push the food downward is called as the peristaltic movement. Now, the partially digested food enters into a J-shaped organ which is called as the stomach. So you can see the food entering inside the stomach. Now let us see the second step. Now inside the stomach there are glands which are called as the gastric glands. Now these gastric glands, they release 3 gastric juices. So these are the gastric glands and they release 3 gastric juices. The first gastric juice is HCl, that is hydrochloric acid. Now you must be wondering why there is acid present in our stomach. Because point number 1, HCl kills the germs that are present in the food. Obviously we ingest a lot of germs along with our food. So the function of hydrochloric acid is to kill these germs so that the food doesn't get contaminated and we don't suffer from diseases. Going further, the hydrochloric acid also creates acidic conditions which are necessary for the digestion of proteins. Yes, my dear students, for the digestion of proteins in the stomach, we need acidic condition which is created by this hydrochloric acid. Now the second juice is an enzyme called as pepsin which digests the proteins partially. So here you can see this is the enzyme pepsin and this is the nutrient protein. So when the enzyme pepsin comes in contact with protein, It digests the proteins partially. The third juice is mucus. The function of mucus is to protect the inner lining of the stomach from the action of the acid. Now, the partially digested food leaves the stomach. As you can see, the food is going from the stomach into the small intestine. But does the entire food go all together? No. It goes part by part. And the exit of the food from the stomach is regulated by a special muscle which is called as the sphincter muscle. So here you can see the sphincter muscle is a circular muscle which controls the exit of food from the stomach.